Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Talks Daily podcast, where every day we explore the latest tech trends, innovations, and the people who are making it all possible. So I'm your host, Neil C. Hughes, and today I'm thrilled to introduce our special guest, Vishal Soni from Alteryx. And Vishal is a leading figure in the world of data analytics, machine learning, and process automation. And at Alteryx, he focuses on leveraging these technologies to help businesses optimize their energy consumption, and in doing so, reducing their environmental impact and achieving significant cost savings, so a win-win. Now, in this age of heightened environmental awareness and stringent regulations, I want to learn more about how his work is more important than ever. So today, we'll be discussing the vital importance of energy optimization in businesses and the transformative role of technology in this arena, and not to mention the future prospects in the field too. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Dubai, where today we're going to navigate the intricate highways of data, technology and energy optimization with today's guest. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Vishal Soni. I'm a senior technical product marketing manager here at Alteryx, and that may be one of the longest job titles in the world. So Alteryx itself, we are an end-to-end unified platform that really helps drive business value at scale. That lets everyone, not just the experts, generate insight from data. Now, my job is really to work with our partners and customers to figure out and communicate how Alteryx can actually help them with their own business problems. And the best part is that I get to roll up my sleeves and really get stuck into the product, playing around with all the different new features, and really just help to create content which lets the world know and gets the world excited about all the new things that we're coming out with, and hopefully gets people motivated to use them.
Excellent. It's a pleasure to have you here. A few years ago, I think we had Libby Adams and Alan Jacobson on here from Alteryx. And one of the things I always try and ask my guests is take them back in time and learn more about their origin story. So I'd love to take you back in time. I mean, what led you to focus on energy optimization in companies, particularly with the context of Alteryx? Because I feel there's got to be a story there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things that we've seen is over the past decade, there's been a huge importance on energy, and that's continued to grow really, really substantially. And it's because of a couple of different things, right? So you've got environmental awareness, there's a lot stricter regulatory requirements, but there's also a massive increase in expectations, both from consumers as well as investors, are really around a business's environmental impact. So one of the things that Alteryx understood pretty early on is that by leveraging our expertise in data and analytics, combining it with things like machine learning and process automation, we could actually give businesses these powerful tools to better understand and see the different relationships between the energy consumption, so that they can look to identify areas of improvement and really start to monitor the effectiveness of their energy optimization efforts.
Given the increasing concern for environmental sustainability right now, there's so many businesses talking about ESG scores, etc. How important is it for companies to implement solutions that rationalize and optimize their energy consumption?
That's a really good question. And I don't think that it's possible to overstate just how important it is, particularly when you think about the context of it being a growing concern. And to your point exactly around environmental sustainability. Now, I think first and foremost, energy optimization is really a key part in reducing a company's environmental impact. But when it comes down to it, cost savings is also a huge part of that, because optimizing your energy consumption can really lead to massive savings in terms of the cost that businesses are paying. So by using energy more efficiently, companies start to reduce their operational costs and hopefully become more profitable. Governments are also starting to introduce stricter environmental regulations as well. So companies who don't start to optimize are going to start facing penalties and sanctions, which really can be not a good look for companies.
Absolutely. And there's just so much going on in this space. And everyone knows the challenges. They know what they need to do. But of course, you can only improve what you measure. So what challenges do companies commonly face when attempting to monitor their energy consumption? And how are Alteryx addressing some of these issues?
Yeah, for sure. I think the challenges themselves are seen by pretty much every business. So I think one thing that companies can take a little bit of, I don't know if pleasure is the right word, they can feel a little bit more at ease, is that it doesn't really matter what business or industry that you're actually in. Everyone's kind of going through this together. And so it doesn't matter if you're manufacturing or healthcare or technology, really using efficient energy is an essential part of corporate responsibility. So one of the things that we're seeing as a huge challenge is the level of disparate data sources. So data lives in all sorts of different places, but being able to put all that data in is a massive challenge. And even once you do have that data in, it can be quite tricky to make sure that the data is actually accurate as well as reliable. And that's where things like Alteryx can really start to help companies, because you can connect to data no matter where it lives, but also start to get that data unified and in a shape where you can actually start to use it for some data analytics. But I also think that one of the new things that companies are doing, and they're becoming really successful at it, is actually starting to use things like machine learning so that they can take a large set of data and start to perform real complex analysis on that data set and start looking at the industry specific factors that really start to influence energy consumption. And the nice thing is these days it's being able to be done by non-data scientists as well. So the more people that can start to jump in and use advanced analytics, I think the better that will all be for it.
And we will have people listening from all around the world in various industries. And of course, they're all united by those same challenges, but some industries are more energy intensive than others. So just to bring to life what we're talking about, are there any examples you can share and explain how the approach to energy optimization in these areas might differ between them?
Yeah, for sure. And you're completely right. Like if you take a look at manufacturing, that sector is really typically energy intensive, with a lot of energy being used in processes like heating, cooling, and powering machinery. So optimization within manufacturing usually looks at things like improving the efficiency of equipment or implementing energy recovery systems and utilizing data analytics to start to optimize operational procedures. So with things like predictive analytics, what you're able to do is start to look at forecasting your energy demand and able to actually start purchasing energy at a time where it may be relatively cheap, but also start to understand where you can start to minimize your energy usage. Another example is retail. So energy in retail typically comes from things like lighting, heating, refrigeration, which is a big one. And so when you start thinking about the energy optimization within retail, you can start thinking about optimizing your HVAC systems or using analytics to understand peak energy use times. So a great example is like lighting or refrigerating, because a lot of the times, I'm sure that your listeners and yourself have probably experienced it when you walk into an office or walk into a shop and the lights are all off until you walk in and they switch on. And that's just a great way where you can start to optimize and use data to optimize and forecast just when to switch off those lights and when to switch them back on and that sort of thing. While the strategies for energy optimization are pretty different when it comes to different industries, the common thread across all of the different verticals is the role of data. And by using data and analytics, companies across all the different sectors can start to gain insights and better understand energy usage and implement effective energy optimization strategies.
And if we were to build on that, automation and data analytics technologies also enable companies to access and analyze energy consumption information at any time, and even when it's spread across different departments too. Is that something you can expand on too, and what you're seeing around this?
Yeah, certainly. So the use of automation and data analytics technologies has really simplified and enhanced the way that companies access as well as analyze energy consumption information. And the way that this process usually works is that automation tools first start to help get the data from all the different places that it lives in. So for example, these might be different departments within a company, all using different systems and different devices like sensors and so on. Now, once all the data is gathered, it needs to be cleaned and pre-processed. So this might be things like removing any inconsistencies or outliers from the data and making it into a format which is actually usable. Now, things like pipelining is a key part here, because once you have all that data, and you need to essentially have a systematic way of making sure that your data is fit for purpose, and having that done in a way that's repeatable is pretty key. And that's what ends up saving you a whole bunch of time and makes life a lot easier. So once you've got that bit, this is really where companies start to get quite excited, because we can start doing things like advanced analytics here. So with things like machine learning and using AI, your data analytic tools can start to identify patterns and trends and correlations within the energy consumption data. So this can be really useful for doing things like forecasting usage or figuring out places where you could potentially save some information, as well as optimize your energy consumptions. And this is something that supermarkets do all the time. So to make sure that the lights are on in the right places, to make sure that fridges are kept at the right temperature, to really make sure that they're able to drive those costs down, and as well as boosting those efficiencies.
And data silos is another challenge that famously impacts businesses in just about every department. So how does combining multiple streams of energy consumption data and putting it into one central point, can you expand on how that is helping create a more robust model for energy optimization too?
Yeah. So when we talk about a robust model for optimization, what we're essentially trying to do is to understand complex relationships as well as patterns. So if we want to predict the future consumption, or if we want to understand demand and which are the peak times or wastage, what we first need to do is to effectively get our hands on as much data as we can possibly grab. Now, the reason why we need to do this, as well as combine all these different streams of data into one, is because once we do that, we have a more holistic and complete picture of energy consumption. In turn, this basically means that we can have a broader view of all the different trends and correlations which might not be visible if you've only got a single stream. So for example, if you look at industrial consumption, that might be influenced by things that may not be made available for residential patterns. So with the more data points that you have, the more that you can actually see, as well as potentially the more accurate your model can actually become. And this is because the more information that you have to learn from, the model could potentially be better at understanding and predicting those complex behaviors. And so when you do have these multiple streams of data and you're able to get a much more granular understanding of energy usage, you're able to start pinpointing different areas where you're potentially being inefficient as a company, or places where you can potentially start to save your cost. And so the big thing really is that all the different data sets that you're looking at all feed different pieces of the same puzzle together. And so I'm sure that your listeners will agree that the world is becoming hyper connected. And so all the different energy systems we have are also sending out huge amounts of data in a way that we've not really ever seen before. And so what happens in one sector might impact another. And these interactions are really key to understanding the broader energy landscape. So a good example of this is I actually, right now, I'm wearing an Apple Watch as well as wearing a Whoop band. Yeah. And so the reason I'm doing this is because my watch gives me one set of data, my Whoop gives me a whole different set of recovery information. And so I'm able to start optimizing my own energy as a human, which is pretty weird, but something that I do quite like to do. But even in the logistics space, right? If you're able to pull in things like your route planning information, your fuel consumption data, your the way in which you've actually balanced your cargo in a truck, you're able to start making better decisions once you've got a big picture of everything that's happening.
And you seem to have a lot of smart products there. How long until you get the smart mattress? I see, I think Zuckerberg and a few others talking about monitoring their sleep, etc. Is that something you're going to go for next?
If it was up to me, I absolutely would. But I'm not sure my wife will agree with that. But let's see, maybe for Christmas.
Love it. And we have mentioned AI a few times in our conversation today. So to get beyond that buzzword status and excitement that comes with AI, can you expand on the role of AI in identifying and understanding energy waste within an organization and how that differs from traditional approaches? Because I'd love to bring it back to the problem that this technology is solving.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one example that I always love to talk about is an iPhone. So one of the things that Apple have figured out how to do is to look at not only your iPhone's battery when it comes to charging it. And it seems pretty straightforward, right? Your phone's running low on battery, you plug it in, and then it charges till it's full again.
Yeah.
But what Apple have done is they've taken a slightly different approach now. So they've actually figured out, using machine learning, how to optimize when to charge your phone. So looking at the grid information, looking at when energy is the lowest in terms of carbon footprint, as well as when it's the lowest in terms of actual cost, it's able to start charging your phone at those times. And the other thing that it does is it doesn't charge your phone fully to 100% in one go. But what it will do instead is it will charge it to about 80%, and then it will start trickle charging until the time that you want to wake up. And it does this so that your battery lasts for longer. So not only are they helping to reduce costs in terms of the actual cost of energy going into your phone, but it's also driving efficiencies by not needing to replace the battery within your phone, saving all sorts of supply chain efficiencies, making sure that your phone is actually fit for purpose for much longer. So the longevity of the product is actually a lot more healthy. And I think that's pretty awesome, but these things are happening everywhere. Like if you look at the Internet of Things, the amount of sensors that you have just within a supermarket by itself. So things like the thermostats are working in a way so that they can optimally heat or cool depending on the time of day, depending on the day of the week, a supermarket, or to make sure that the fridges and freezers are kept at the exact temperature by switching on and off to really regulate the flow of air. And so one of the things that we're seeing more and more is enterprises are constantly looking at new ways for them to save cash. And so a big way in which they can do this is by integrating with these new smart technologies that use a lot of machine learning and really advanced algorithms in the back end, so that they can start to save save on the bottom line.
100%. And if I was to ask you to look into the future, maybe gaze into a virtual crystal ball, what do you envision as the future of energy optimization within businesses? And how can they maybe better prepare and adapt to these upcoming changes? Because I think we can all see what's coming, and it is time to prepare for them, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think that it's quite exciting when you think about all the advancements of technology, the regulations that are going to be in place, as well as the change of societal expectations. All of these things are really going to be big when it comes to the future of energy optimization. So I think that with the rise of the Internet of Things and the increasing digitization of operations, we can start to expect that businesses are going to need to harness more data than ever before. So all these different sensors and devices essentially are going to let companies monitor the energy consumption in real time. And they're going to get so much detail and insight, which is going to just really change the way in which they manage their energy. And so when you couple that with the use of AI and machine learning, the energy optimization is going to be even more widespread. So these technologies are going to help businesses to predict energy demand, as well as figure out where there's inefficiencies and automate those energy-saving actions. And as renewable energy becomes more and more efficient and affordable, businesses are going to start to really transition towards these more sustainable alternatives. Now, this shift is going to need a couple of innovative strategies for the energy storage and use to really accommodate the intermittent nature that we've got right now with renewables. But I think that to best prepare and adapt for these future changes, companies need to start to ensure that they've got a digital infrastructure that can handle the increase of data volumes. And this is more so to support advanced analytics as well as AI, as well as keeping all the information that these sensors are sending. So this might involve things like investing in cloud storage or high-performance computing, or even new data management systems. I also think that companies should monitor their evolving energy regulations to make sure that they're compliant. And if you've got a process in place where you can actually automate a lot of this reporting, that's going to save you a lot of headache. And finally, and I can't stress this enough, but businesses should really start to leverage data and analytics to understand energy consumption patterns and to figure out and identify places where they can start to optimize and save some cost.
Well, a huge thank you for coming on and sparing your time to share some of your invaluable insights today. So much value in there. But before I do let you go, I'm going to ask you to leave everyone listening with one final gift, because we've got an Amazon wish list for the podcast. I always ask my guests to leave a book or something that means something to them, inspired them, or something they would just recommend to everyone listening. So all I'm going to ask is, what would you like to add to that wish list and why?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a big fan of Formula One. And there's a book that I cannot recommend highly enough. The book's called The Mechanic, The Secret World of the F1 Pit Lane. It's written by Mark Priestley, and it's a brilliant book because, firstly, it's a first-hand account of what goes on, not just in the driver's head, but written from the point of view of a mechanic. So I love the technical details, and I love the stories of the old days of Formula One. So if you're into motorsport, particularly if you're into Formula One, this book is a must read.
Fantastic. I'll get that added straight to the Amazon wish list. And for anyone listening, just wanting to find out a little bit more information on some of the topics we discovered today and explored, if they want to contact Alteryx, find out more information, what's the best starting point for everything?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is alteryx.com. That's Alteryx.com. And also feel free to contact me. My name is Vishal Soni. I'm on LinkedIn. So yeah, I would love to speak to you, love to figure out how it is that we can help. And even if it's just to catch up, I'm more than happy to have a coffee. So please do get in touch.
Well, it's been an absolute honor to have you on the podcast today. We always talk about technology every single day, but I always try and bring it back to what problems are we solving here, and learning more about why it's important for companies to implement solutions to rationalize and optimize their energy consumption, how technologies such as automation, data analytics, and AI make it so much easier to implement effective measures, identify, monitor, and reduce their consumption. So much gold there. I urge anyone listening to check you guys out. But more than anything, just a big thank you for sharing your story today.
Cheers. Thank you so much, Neil.
So a big thank you to today's guest for sharing his invaluable insights and experiences, and for diving into the critical issue of energy optimization. But the power of data analytics, AI, and automation and other emerging technologies in transforming this field. And I think the embracing of these technologies for a sustainable future has never been more important. And I also enjoyed touching on how businesses can use these tools to not only comply with environmental regulations, but also make significant cost savings. But if you've got anything you'd like to add to today's conversation, please email me now, techblogwriter@outlook.com. Whether you hang out on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you hang out, send me a direct message on there or connect with me. But don't just hit a follow or connect button. Send me a little message. I always like to connect with each and every one of you out there. But that's it for today. So remember, technology isn't all about gadgets, gizmos, and code. It's about improving the world we live in. One step, or in this case, 1 kilowatt at a time. So stay curious, stay informed, stay tuned in for more inspiring episodes of Tech Talks Daily. But more than anything, just thank you for listening as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.